Welcome to Trade Talk for Week 8 of the 2019 fantasy football season. I am Ben, and with me as always is Maddie Nice. If this is your first time tuning into the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification button. Leave a comment below about some trade scenarios and we'll happily answer your questions. But let's get on with the show. Matt, who are some players you're looking to target in trade this week?
This week we will target possibly coming off of an injury. We've talked about him before. I'll go back to Davante Adams. I feel like if he doesn't play this week, next week is almost a sure thing. He lightly participated today in the warm-up. Just looking at some wide receivers above him that I'd rather have, and that list is DeAndre Hopkins, of wide receivers I'd rather have that are above him.
That's it. That's short of a list.
I will take him over everybody else in standard.
So you're looking at the wide receivers above him or below him?
Above.
So you take him over Julio Jones?
Yep.
Amari Cooper?
Yep.
Mike Evans?
Yep.
Chris Godwin?
Yep.
Tyreek Hill?
Yep.
And Michael Thomas?
Yep.
I think your Packer bias is showing because there's no way I'd take him over Michael Thomas. With the injury lingering and with him not having done as much as we would expect in the first couple of weeks when he was healthy, I'm happily going to take Julio Jones and Amari Cooper ahead of him.
Wow.
The Tampa Bay guys, I mean, even Keenan Allen tied with him, like, just because of the health thing. Like, he's not coming back. Is he coming back this week? If you tell me for sure he's coming back this week, I'm going to rank him higher on this list. But you have him as the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy rest of season.
Yeah, I mean, when he comes back, I think he'll have the most points going forward, aside from maybe Hopkins. Did you see how they used him in the last game that he played?
Yes.
10 catches, 180 yards or whatever.
Yeah, but I've also seen them run it into the ground and use the running backs a lot. I feel like this offense is not an every week Aaron Rodgers is the dominant force that he was last week offense.
No, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when Adams is back, he's the number 1 wide receiver on that offense for sure. And, you know, any of these guys are going to hit and miss. I mean, Julio has his bad weeks too. Cooper is, you know, hit and miss, injury prone. Michael Thomas is the only one I'd maybe argue about that he could maybe stay ahead of him, but for now I would say Adams, but that Thomas is kind of like a 2B.
You'd have to be in a situation where you have a very good record right now because he might miss this week. Mm-hmm. So let's assume he's missing this week. In order to make a trade for him and for his value to be higher, you have to be okay with possibly taking a loss this week because you're going to have a weakness at wide receiver because you're going to be trading somebody pretty good. You know, if you're trading Cooper Kupp with him, which I'd be fine to do, you're still going to have nothing this week. So it's as if he's on bye this week. Have the Packers had their bye?
No, they have not.
So you're looking at 2 bye weeks for him versus somebody like T.Y. Hilton who's through the bye. And again, I would take Davante Adams over T.Y. Hilton if I have a winning team. But if I need wins right now and you can't guarantee me that Davante Adams is going to play this week, they're tough trades to make. Like Godwin and Evans both just had their bye, so they're coming in fresh. If you need wins right now, I don't think that you can take Davante Adams over these players. But as you mentioned, if you're like 6-1 right now and you have Mike Evans and you're worried that Chris Godwin's going to be the guy and you can make that trade to give somebody Mike Evans for Davante Adams because they need to win now, okay, I get that.
Yeah, and I mean, you could also just do like the 2-for-2s that we usually go back to and, you know, throw Adams against Cooper Kupp, who is apparently a lot better than him. And do that, Tyreek Hill, Godwin. Like, I'm taking Davante over all these guys, but you're going to get probably better value on the flip side.
But it depends on your team's record. Like, if you have a team that's 3-4 right now, you can't afford to have 2 weeks without a player versus 2 extra weeks of Mike Evans. You have to factor that into the equation here for the value going forward. You lose those 2 weeks, you're out of the playoff race at, say, 3-6 right now with those 2 losses versus Mike Evans putting you at 5-4. I think it's really scenario dependent. I think if he was healthy right now and you can guarantee me that it's only 1 week, then I'm taking him over most of these guys. But if you can't promise that, and then it's tough for me to take him over as many players as you have. But we'll move on from Davante Adams, and we'll look at a player that I'm targeting, and that's Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon has been absolutely awful. Gets the Bears this week, and could be absolutely awful again, or he could do what Latavius Murray did against the Bears last week and be amazing. His value is incredibly low, although not quite as low as our good friend Joe Mixon's. Melvin Gordon on this chart, can't seem to find him. 14 in standard, 16 in PPR. He is ranked below Philip Lindsay, but he is above his teammate Austin Eckler and Sony Michel, whereas Joe Mixon has fallen to an 8. So here are some trade scenarios that I have for him. Number 1, I have Tyler Lockett and Devonta Freeman, and I'm trading you for Melvin Gordon and Mike Evans.
You're not getting that done.
No deal. The trade chart does say that it is 2 points in my favor before the trade, so my players are worth 2 more than you.
That is crazy, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you're very down on Lockett, as am I, which is why I brought him in.
I had Lockett up really high this week in our Blue Duck Fantasy rankings.
That's the only trade that I have for Melvin Gordon. But I do have a couple for an interesting player, and that's Nick Chubb. He's going to have the backfield to himself for another 2 weeks. And then Kareem Hunt will be joining the mix. He was at practice yesterday, probably at practice today. So I want to trade away Nick Chubb. He's been playing great. His value is pretty high. It's at a 34 on this list. So trade scenario number 1. I have Nick Chubb and Cooper Kupp, and I'm going to trade you for Leonard Fournette and Michael Thomas. Matt, do you accept?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Michael Thomas is way better than Cooper Kupp.
There's a 4-point difference between them.
Yeah.
And a 5-point difference between Chubb and Fournette. So technically the Chubb Kupp side is favored by 1 point here. Let's try a different one. I have Nick Chubb and Larry Fitzgerald, and I'm going to trade you for Kenny Golladay and Todd Gurley.
Fitz has been a big disappointment this year. So it's Chubb and Fitz for Gurley, and who was the wide receiver?
Kenny Golladay.
Golladay. No, I'm going to favor the Golladay.
Okay,
Gurley
but
side.
closer than the last one.
It is closer than the last one, yeah.
Again, we're using the CBS Trade Chart, and the trade values in these trades are even. Matt, any other players that you're looking at to either buy or sell this week?
Just to back up a little bit on Melvin Gordon there, I'm a buy on this as well. But do you know what his long is this year?
His longest rush?
Yeah,
I'll say 8.
Yeah, it's close 7. So it's really not good. And I think
how many total rushes does he have this year?
He has 36 attempts.
Okay.
And he's got 81 yards in those 36 attempts with a long of 7. Obviously, no touchdowns through the ground. He did catch 1 and fumbled at the goal line last game. So people will be, I think, more open to selling them than they were a couple weeks ago when he came back. So, yeah, definitely somebody to target there. Other than him, I'm kind of getting down on Zach Ertz for a tight end. Like, I would flip him for like Mark Andrews with another positional flip there.
Okay, because there's a difference there. Mark Andrews also down is at 9 versus Zach Ertz at 14. So you're looking for a 5-point bump somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's like getting
DJ Chark
trading DJ Chark for Odell Beckham or something.
Well, let's just say Diggs would be closer there.
Yeah, but I would still take that. Like Ertz has not done anything, and Dallas Goedert was the main tight end last week.
That's true.
I don't know what to think of Ertz. I had him down this week.
Yeah, we all had him down. I think he finished at 7th in the overall rankings. The big takeaway from the tight ends here on this trade value chart is that they're all grouped together. Like George Kittle is at 17, and then somehow Austin Hooper is at 16. Hunter Henry, the same value, 16. Kelsey, 16. Is there any way you'd want Hooper over either of those guys?
No, not at all. Especially in standard format here.
Yeah, you'd think he'd have a higher PPR value. Like maybe you have him at 14 and then tied with those guys in PPR. But yeah, the tight end values here are not bad, but I think they're just a little too high on Hooper and a little too down on Kelsey. But as you mentioned, like Zach Ertz for Darren Waller, who would you rather have rest of the season?
Waller. Honestly, like...
Yeah, the volume's there. Like, even if he's not as talented, the volume is just there.
Yeah, you can't really trust Ertz right now. Like, I've got him in only one league, and I mean, I'm not looking to, dump him or anything, but I'm a frustrated fantasy owner of Zach Ertz. Wasted a high pick there.
Okay. Another player that we should sell high on, Tyler Lockett's at a 20 now. We already had the first trade value for him, which was Lockett and Freeman for Gordon and Evans, and you passed on that. So I'm going to look to unload Tyler Lockett, but I'm going to pair him with Nick Chubb.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask that you give me DeAndre Hopkins and Chris Carson.
Can't do that, no.
Okay. Is there a lesser wide receiver that would make that work?
That still makes it even on your end?
Well, that makes it close. Like, what about a Tyreek Hill?
Like, even, yeah, I was going to say Hill is probably someone I might do that trade with, just because I don't trust Hill, especially with the Mahomes injury, which... I know he limited. I don't buy that at all. That's coach speak. He's out for a couple of weeks. Tyreek Hill, I think, is actually a little bit too high with that injury. That didn't affect him enough on here.
Well, he did score a touchdown with Matt Moore against one of the better corners on Thursday. So
it was just a weird play.
Yeah, it was a weird play. Okay, another player. I think these are just kind of some. I have Mark Ingram here, so. Mark Ingram is another player we've talked about several times about selling. That is becoming a committee. So I have two interesting trades. I think you'll take, maybe you won't take the second one. I'm not too keen on the second one. But the first one is Mark Ingram and brand new to the list, Ty Johnson, who's ranked at a 7. Mark Ingram is a 20. For Josh Jacobs and David Montgomery.
I'm getting the two rookies?
You're getting Ingram and Johnson.
No, thanks.
Okay. How about Ingram and Chris Godwin for Aaron Jones and Amari Cooper?
Oh, no, I'll take Aaron Jones and Amari Cooper.
I figured you'd take Jones, and I wasn't too high on making that trade with Jones there. Last one I have here, a sell high candidate, or not even high at this point, with his value kind of stinking up, is Sony Michel, who's ranked at a 13 here, which is probably about appropriate for what he's done compared to the other backs, and we're talking about Mark Ingram at a 20, Aaron Jones at a 22. Sony Michel still getting touchdowns. So Sony Michel and T.Y. Hilton for Cortland Sutton and Derrick Henry. Which side would you like?
Sony and T.Y. and for Derrick Henry and Cortland Sutton?
Yes.
I'll take Sony and T.Y.
We got a deal done.
Hey. Exciting
First
times.
time on Trade Talk. All right. Any other players you're looking to buy or sell?
I'm going to skip Mahomes because he's hurt and he's a little bit lower than he should be. Other than that, no, that's it for me.
I'll give you one name. His value's at a 9. He's a wide receiver. His name is Tyler Boyd.
Okay.
Now, I was looking at this one. I thought his value at 9 was low, but then I see Allen Robinson at 10. And I would rather have Allen Robinson rest of the season than Tyler Boyd. He's been playing fairly well. Alshon Jeffrey also at a 9, equal to Tyler Boyd. At this point, I would rather have Alshon Jeffrey, and Tyrell Williams isn't even on this list.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. And Terry McLaurin's still at an 11. I think I'd rather have Tyler Boyd than him. I'd rather have Alshon than him too. Yeah,
I'd agree with that one. Terry McLaurin is someone who's been a sell candidate for us for a while. I think his value was actually higher before. He dropped 3 points because of the Mud Bowl that they played in, which doesn't seem fair to me.
Right.
But Terry McLaurin, definitely somebody you should be looking to sell high on. And if you don't have anybody else, Matt, that's going to wrap it up.
Just last thing we'll touch on. We talked about Lockett a little bit about selling him, which is fine, but I think he's in for a good week against the Falcons this week. So
we're going to talk a whole lot more about that on the podcast because I think it really depends on whether or not Matt Ryan plays. If they don't and pick 6 Matt Schaub starts playing, I think the defense and the running game are going to have a field day, and Russell Wilson will put his feet up and have that Kirk Cousins game from earlier in the year when Dalvin Cook ran all over everyone and threw 12 passes total. Anyways, anything to add?
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you're doing both.
That's it.